well, how does improvising dialogue on something like Togetherness compare to acting in something like Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, for instance, where you were working with such elaborately scripted dialogue by Aaron Sorkin, of course?
You know, in both cases, you're working with really good writers. So I think as long as someone in control who can weed out the really bad stuff, you're in good hands. I mean, Sorkin is an amazing writer, and so it was just a pleasure to stick to the script. And if the Duplass brothers asked me to stick to their scripts, it would also be really great. But they like the way it feels when it's looser. So.
Is there a lot of a lot of takes involved, trying things different ways before you settle on whichever one feels right?
Weirdly, they move pretty quickly. They're very light on their feet, and they don't like to do a lot of takes unless they feel like we're really not nailing it. Once they have it, they just move on. A lot of directors, I think, sort of, they feel like they found the shape of it, and then they want to keep going and keep going and keep going. But the Duplasses aren't like that. They move on really quickly, which is a good thing if you're breastfeeding or, have 3 children.
I had a chance to talk to Melanie Linsky a couple of weeks ago, and she mentioned there were sort of lengthy auditions where the actors improvised and developed their character relationships. What was your audition like?
Well, I read for the show twice, and both times I was improvising a lot with Steve, and I was definitely very surprised by how much they wanted us to improvise, and we had a great time, and I sort of forgot that it was an audition, which is very unusual. And yeah, I had an amazing time, and I was just hoping and praying that they felt the same way.
Yeah, and you mentioned Steve, Zissis, who plays Alex on the show, a struggling actor who your character is trying to help with his career, and he was sort of your primary relationship in the first season of that show. With that, complex dynamic, playful, funny, and there's also a longing. But what was that dynamic like as actors working to develop that kind of bond between those characters?
Well, I just love him as a person. So we were friends really quickly, and he's very collaborative and playful on set, and is willing to try anything, and hopefully I am too. Hopefully he thinks that about me. But yeah, I feel really safe and to try stuff, and also I just think he's really brilliant. So I feel like I have to be good in order to stay with him, or I have to, up my game.
He's also a co-creator of the show. Is there a lot of creative input from him in that capacity during your scenes together, or is it just basically, 2 actors, co-starring?
Yeah, it's more 2 actors. He's very much with me when we're in a scene. He doesn't give any direction or anything like that. He's very much with me, trying stuff, and we defer to Mark and Jay. But it feels like he's in the same boat I'm in.
He plays a struggling actor, and a lot of the show is set in that, Hollywood community. I was wondering, could you relate to any of that story of, trying to navigate the Los Angeles show business world that they're telling on the show?
Sure. I mean, I've been doing this for a long, long time. I'm incredibly old. And, I definitely felt like, for a long time, or for different periods during my career, I felt like as though I wasn't taken seriously, and I wish there would be a different perception of me. I wish someone would pass me the ball more, but then sometimes when they did, I would suck. And yeah, it's very hard to have all the stars align, the right script, the right part, you're ready, you've had enough experience, you know, you feel comfortable, you have a very good director, you have a very good editor who can weed out all the bad stuff. You know, it's when I think about it now, I can't believe that I am still working or that I ever worked, because it's so hard. It's so hard. It's so hard to get in there, and it's so hard to be good in an audition. I mean, it's a very unnatural situation, and it's almost impossible not to feel judged. And when you feel judged, it's very hard to relax. And so, you know, as Josh Hamilton said, it's hard not to suck.
Did you ever have, or maybe wish you had, you know, along the way, early on in your career, someone like your character that you play on the show who was willing to push you out of your comfort zone and really drive you to push farther than you thought you could?
You know, I have, you know, Sarah Paulson is my very close friend, and I have a lot of friends who are actors who were there for me over the years, and my husband is a great support. And so, you know, I definitely feel like I have those people, and they do a lot more than tell me to lose weight and go to the gym. So, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, the character of you play has a lot of self-doubt about her life and her career. So while you have a lot of funny scenes on the show, there are also a lot of really emotional scenes. Do you feel like one or the other comes more naturally to you as an actor, like the comic side or the dramatic side?
No, I definitely feel like from the beginning when I was doing the whole 9 yards, for example, I always have tried to take the genre out of the equation. So in my own head, I'm not thinking this is a comedy, I better be funny, because surely I wouldn't be if I tried to be. So I just try to just play the scene, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't think about it. I just play the scene, honestly. I don't know.
Most of the episodes in the first season were written and directed by Mark and Jay Duplass, and it's a unique situation because Mark is obviously also one of your co-stars on screen. What is it like working with someone who's the writer, the director, and a producer, but who's also like sometimes your scene partner?
It was really great for me. I really, really trust them, and I don't feel that way very often. It hasn't been, I haven't always felt that way. I think some people are super lucky. They go from great director to great director, and for me, it hasn't been that way. And so right now, I'm just so excited to have them around because I know that I'm better when I'm with them. And sometimes he gives me direction, but he's able to dive right back in and wear both hats and switch back and forth. I don't feel like he's overly watchful as a director when he's acting with me.
Speaking of great directors, they directed most of the episodes, but one episode of the first season was actually directed by Nicole Holofcener, who you've worked with before on her, her movie Please Give. What was that experience working with a different director, midway through the season, and having it be someone you've worked with before, you had that previous working relationship with?
Yeah, I mean, so for me it was easy because I have this whole relationship with her, and not only do I worship her, but she's very dear to me too. So it's just like being in the best hands possible. And when I feel like I'm with someone whose taste I admire, it makes me I feel nervous, but I also feel like it's okay to try things because I know they'll cut it if it's bad. Or Jay and Mark have I hope it's okay that I'm saying this, but whenever someone like me is over the top, they'll say, well, you got a hold of it that time. So that's their way of saying that something's over the top. So now we talk about it all the time. I'll say, I'm going to go get a hold of this one. Anyway, it's really nice to be with a bunch of people who have the same idea of what it looks like when you're getting a hold of something, instead of just playing it for real, you know? And Nicole, you know, she just fit right in because she's the same way.
Yeah, Nicole Holofcener and the Duplass brothers, you know, both have sort of a similar sensibility. They come from both, you know, an independent film background, you know, and the film and the TV series has sort of, you know, feels almost like a continuous, you know, independent film. Does that make the experience of shooting the show feel different for you to, as an actor compared to other TV work or maybe even film work you've done?
Sure. I mean, they're kind of a small operation, and it feels very personal, and it feels very it feels not compatible. That's not what I was thinking. Collaborative, and there is an intimacy to the whole thing. The crew, the amount of trucks. You know, we're a light operation, and I sometimes think that. I sometimes think that the work can be more special that way when there's less money. Not only because you're not, you know, you don't have to adhere to sort of studio rules, you don't have to toe the party line, but it's also just because there's an intimacy there. And you only have so much film, you only have so much time in the day that you have to shoot this stuff. You know, you're shooting 5 pages a day. It's intense, but I really like it.
Yeah, I have heard from, you know, other people discussing, you know, obviously the difference between independent films, smaller budgets, and you know, larger budget kind of productions, and you know, it is sort of a double-edged sword where, you know, there is pressure financially, you know, on a smaller production, but there's also greater freedom. Was that sort of the sense that you've gotten, you know, working on smaller projects?
I think so, yeah. I mean, you know, I think HBO is an amazing place to work because I think they really want to give showrunners their visions. They don't want to hire somebody and then say, but you can't do this, this, and this, or you can't, you know, execute your vision. You have to water it down or cast this girl in this boy role or whatever. You know, they very much wanted the Duplass brothers to do their thing. And so I think that's equally important. And yeah, not having a lot of money means that I sometimes think it means you can get a less corrupt version of what you're trying to do.
Mark Duplass has discussed, you know, in some interviews that I've seen, you know, about taking a more egalitarian approach to nudity than we see usually in film and TV, and of course on HBO. You know, almost every show on HBO has some measure of that kind of provocative content. You know, and you know, Duplass has, you know, make sure the men are, you know, as exposed as the women. Does that make it more comfortable, you know, as an actor, you know, working with a director who, you know, is also putting himself on the line in a similar way on screen?
I just feel comfortable with them in general. I think the most important thing to consider as a woman, if you're going to take your clothes off, is, you know, is the project of value, and is the role interesting, and is the role an integral part of the plot? If all of the above are yes, then sure, I'll take my clothes off, regardless of whether somebody else's character calls for that or not, you know? But yes, it's nice that the fact that it annoys him that it's usually women makes me feel even safer and even luckier.
Yeah, I for one, you know, believe that all shows on HBO need to adopt this kind of balls equality, as he once described it. You know, on screen, we really need, like, every show like an equal portion. It seems only fair.
Yes, I tell my husband the same thing about Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that you know, definitely, you know, keep making those suggestions. We need the revolution.
You're gonna see a lot of male nudity. Trust me.
Well, Emmy season is HBO has done well with its comedies in recent years. If you yourself are nominated for an Emmy, you'll have to submit a sample episode that you think represents your best work. Do you have a particular episode from the first season that you felt was a highlight for you in terms of the performance you gave and the material you got to play?
Oh God. Excuse me while I throw up. It was really fun for me, all the stuff with the bouncy castle and me kind of failing at my job. And so I loved those last episodes, like the penultimate episode where they gave me this whole thing with like not being able to inflate my bouncy castle, which I thought was such an incredible metaphor. And yet it wasn't written that way. It wasn't sort of an in-your-face metaphor, but I just loved it. And I loved doing it. And I don't know how much of it really ended up on screen, but I really wrestled with that bouncy castle. I definitely was almost injured several times trying to either get it in the trash can or deflate it or inflate it. And so that was really my most, in a way, I felt like that was the most special one. Like when I read it, I was so excited, and I was so excited that I was going to wear this white outfit and become a mess, and yeah.
Yeah, the old saying goes that you shouldn't work with children or animals, and I guess maybe we should add bouncy castles to that too if you're an actor.
Yeah. I loved that everyone was trying to help her, and that they made it. They had a way of just making it so important to her that she does it on her own, and yeah, it just was really. I was really excited. I thought it was really funny when I read it on the page, and yeah, really special. I don't know. It's hard to choose.
The show's renewed for a second season, and are you shooting it already? I think
shooting it, yeah.
Of course, you can't give it anything away, and we wouldn't want you to spoil anything from the new season. But how have you been feeling about where your character is going in this season? Are there any more bouncy castle dilemmas?
Yeah, there aren't. I'm not doing the bouncy castle thing so far. And the boy dilemma is still happening, and she's still pretty lost and desperate. So I'm happy about that. For some reason, it's really fun for me to play a desperate person. I don't know what that means. I find it to be really relatable, and I don't know if it's from years of being an actor or not thinking that I got enough attention as a child, but there's something about it that is really, really fun for me. Well, and there's also someone who's desperate who doesn't know that she's desperate, has this kind of false grandiosity. I guess that's redundant, but it's just really fun.
And there's also the factor maybe that, as an actor, the worse things are going for your character, the harder things are for your character, the more drama there is. So, better for you as an actor. So when you relate to your character, you sort of want them to be going through, tough times.
Well, I'm not sure successful people are that interesting to watch. People who aren't in conflict and, yeah. So.
I want to congratulate you again on the show, and I want to wish you the best of luck continuing to film season 2 and when that premieres next season, and best of luck at the Emmys coming up.
Thank you so much.
It was great chatting with you, and thank you for putting up with the minor technical problems we had earlier.
Are you kidding? I'm just, it's usually it's a little sketchy here in this house. I don't know why, but has a mind of its own.
All right. It was great chatting with you.
You too. Have a good day.